Gopalanandalal Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopalanandalal Govinda Govinda Gopalanandalal Krishna 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 Govinda Govinda Gopalanandalal 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 Gopalanandalal, 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 Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopalanandalal Govinda Govinda Gopalanandalal Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopalanandalal Krishna Govinda Govinda Gopalanandalal Hey Gopalanandalal, 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 Gopalanandalal. Gopalananda Lal, 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 Nanda Lal, Gopalananda Lal, Gopalananda Lal, Gopalananda Lal, Gopalananda Lal, Gopalananda Lal, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Ram Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna Govinda Govinda, Gopalananda Lal, 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 Hey Gopalananda Lal, Gopalananda Lal, Gopalananda Lal,
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Janmadyasya yatunvayatitarataschaर्थेष्वभिज्ञस्वरात् Teni Brahma Hridaya Adikavaye Muhyanti Yat Surayaha Tejo Varimridam Yatha Vinimayo Yatra Trisargam Risha Dhamnasvena Sada Nirasta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi Satyam Param Dhimahi Satyam Param Dhimahi Yam Pravrajantam Anupetam Apeta Krityam Dvaipayano Virahakatara Juhava Putreti Tanmayatayo Taravo Vinedus Tam Sarva Bhuta Hridayam Munimanatosmi Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshva Badrishu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Okay, so we will read today the 8th verse from the 22nd chapter of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna steals the gopis' garments. Bhagavan tat abhipretyam Krishna Yogeshvara Vayasyaihi Avritaha Tatra Gataha Tatkarma Siddhaye Bhagavam Stata Vipretya Bhagavam Stata Vipretya Krishna Yogeshvareshvaraha Krishna Yogeshvareshvaraha Vayasyair Avritastattra Vayasyair Avritastattra Gatastat Karma Siddhaye Gatastat Karma Siddhaye Bhagavam Stata Vipretya Krishna Yogeshvareshvaraha Vayasyair Avritastatha Tatra Gatastat Karma Siddhaye Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Tat, that, Abhipretya, seeing, Krishna, Lord Krishna, Yoga Ishvara Ishvaraha, the master of all masters of mystic yoga.
The master of all masters of mystic yoga.
Vayasyaihi, by young companions. Avritaha, surrounded. Tatra, there. Gataha, went. Tat, of those girls. Karma, the ritualistic activities. Siddhaye, for assuring the result. Translation. Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead and Master of all masters of mystic yoga, was aware of what the gopis were doing. And thus he went there, surrounded by his young companions, to award the gopis the perfection of their endeavor. Purport. As the master of all masters of mystic yoga, Lord Krishna could easily understand the desires of the gopis, and he could also fulfill them. The gopis, like all young girls from respectable families, considered the embarrassment of appearing naked before a young boy to be worse than giving up their lives. Yet Lord Krishna made them come out of the water and bow down to him. Although the bodily forms of the gopis were all fully developed, and although Krishna met them in a secluded place and brought them fully under his control, because the Lord is completely transcendental, there was no trace of material desire in his mind. Lord Krishna is the ocean of transcendental bliss, and he wanted to share his bliss with the gopis on the spiritual platform, completely free from ordinary lust. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that the companions of Krishna mentioned here were mere toddlers, 2 or 3 years old. They were completely naked and were unaware of the difference between male and female bodies. When Krishna went out to herd the cows, they followed him because they were so attached to him that they could not bear to be without his association. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Bhagavam stada vipretya Krishna yogeshvara vireshvaraha vayasyar avritas tatra gatastat karma siddhaye. Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead and Master of all masters of mystic yoga, was aware of what the gopis were doing, and thus he went there surrounded by his young companions to award the gopis the perfection of their endeavor. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyadesatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. pravishyamam vachimamam prasuptam sanjivayat akila shakti darak swadam nanyam shahasta charana shravanat vagadim pranannamo bhagavate purushaya tubhyam svasyastu vishvasya kalah prasidatam dayantu bhutani shivam mithodya manascha badram bhajata tadokshaje aveshitam no matir abhyahaitu kim. So trying to meditate on this Lila of young Kumarikas, virgin girls of Raj who were not engaged yet, how they developed very pure and ardent desire to marry God. They didn't have anyone else in mind. They didn't want anyone. And for that, they ultimately found the solution. The lesson here is that if we really want to come closer to God, God Himself sends us somebody who will teach us how to become closer to Him. He reciprocates with our desire. Srila Bhakti Vijnana Thakur explains that our contact with devotees is always a result of some sort of internal cry. When we are becoming desperate and we want to know some higher truths than the ordinary truths which are available, easily available in this world. When this cry, tearful cry, comes out from our heart, then some arrangement is being made. And externally it may seem like some coincidence or something which is not really significant, but in reality it's our desire who starts the chain reaction in the environment. It's our desire which changes ultimately, and of course mercy of God combined together, which brings about our meeting with devotees. And this desire, even though it seems to be completely how you say it, unfulfillable. I don't know if there is such a word in English. This desire, even though it's completely unrealistic and not even, it's impractical even. Still, nevertheless, Krishna makes it possible, and He makes impossible possible because that's the definition of Krishna. Krishna is somebody who can do everything, even though it's completely impossible. And the greater desire is, the greater is the gap between our present situation and the condition which we are aspiring for, the more humble we become. It's the cause of our humility. When we understand that I'm totally undeserving, I cannot really, have any hope for this. But nevertheless, I want it. And this gap makes us humble. And this gap actually, and the humility, that's a very important question to be answered in this Lila. Why did this Gopi, worship Katyayani, who is supposedly a demigoddess. Of course, according to the Narada Pancharatra or other tantric literature, Katyayani is Yoga Maya, but they're young girls. They don't really understand the distinction between Yoga Maya, Mahamaya, and moreover, they're simple village girls. They probably never heard about Yoga Maya. It's, they don't teach about this on Bhakta program. It's just elevated topic of some other Bhakti Vaibhava, Bhakti Vedanta. So they're playing this Nara Lila. So in this Nara Lila, they don't have any distinction. So they more or less worshipping the Katyayani as Durga, as demigoddess. And there is a beautiful answer to this query or to this question. The beautiful answer to this, of course, internally they are great devotees of the Lord, and therefore they would not worship demigods for this purpose. But there is a reason why even great devotees sometimes worship demigods. Or, as a matter of fact, they can worship anyone. And this reason is their humility. Srila Rupa Goswami in Hamsadutta, he gives a beautiful verse where Lalita is speaking with Krishna through this swan messenger. And Lalita, speaking to Krishna, describes the condition of Radha, who is left by Krishna in separation. And Lalita, to explain the extent of her desperation, she says that, sometimes she goes to a sadhu. Because she knows that when sadhu says something, then it will be fulfilled. So she humbly asked the sadhu, please give me an advice how to bring Krishna back. Or sometimes she goes to a mystic who knows the art of incantations and the art of mystical mantras for attracting, and she is begging, please give me some mystical mantras so that I would bring Krishna back. Or sometimes she goes to some black magic people and she's asking them, can you give me some little portion so that I would give it somehow or other to Krishna and he will come back. Or sometimes she goes to goddess Parvati and she begs Parvati, please, dear goddess, make sure that he is coming back. So this is a description of the scale of their desire, the strength, the force of their desire, which make them ready to do anything to fulfill their desires. So they're not, at this moment of time, they're not really philosophical. Shall we worship demigods or not, or shall we just? They're just doing something. We have this desire, and whatever works is good. It doesn't matter. So they were worshipping like this for the whole month, trying to do everything as much perfect as possible, trying to fulfill all the conditions of vrata which were given to them by their spiritual master, who is Vrinda herself. Vrindayaya Tulasi Devyaya Priyaya Keshavasya Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Satyavatya Namo Namaha. So they're worshipping they're chanting this mantra Katyayani Mahamaye, and they know perfectly well who is the Rishi of this mantra, who is the Devata of this mantra, what is the chandas. They're trying to do everything perfectly, and definitely they know what is Viniyoga, what is the purpose, why they're chanting this mantra. Actually, it is said in science of mantra chanting that chanting of mantra can only be successful if you know these 4 principles. Who is the Rishi of this mantra? Rishi means the seer, the somebody who saw this mantra in his mystical trance and revealed this mantra to us ordinary people. What is the Devata, the deity of this mantra? What is the Chandas, meter, how to chant it properly? And what is the Viniyoga? What is the proper application of this mantra for what it is? And only then the mantra chanting will be successful. So for the whole month, these gopis were doing this vrata, and at the end of the month, they're becoming emaciated, totally emaciated. Their body lose the luster, because for the whole month they didn't apply any oil to their bodies, and they become dried up. Winter is a very dry season, and you need to take some, ghee and some oil externally, and they're not using any decorations. And their mothers, they definitely know our daughters, they're performing some vrata, and they are proving this. Because they think internally our daughters are clever, they probably worship some demigod to get a good husband. They don't know which husband they want to get. So, but at the end of the month, their mothers were becoming progressively more and more anxious and more disturbed. What's going on? Why our daughters are so emaciated? But they try to ask, what do you want to achieve? What is the purpose of your severe vrata? And Gopi says, something. Our purpose is to achieve something. And Acharyas actually say, it's also a very important lesson or little detail of this Lila. Acharyas say that the very word gopi comes from the, of course it may come from the word go, means cow, but it may also come from the root gup, which means they're very secretive. They are not revealing what is there in the heart. And that's a very important condition, that you should not really reveal your aspirations to anyone else except for those who are completely in sync with your aspirations. Because from them you cannot hide anyway. As Srila Jiva Goswami explained, that when they came together on the bank of Yamuna, they understood there is no point of hiding our feelings because they're all the same. So they started pouring out what is the purpose, but from everyone else it should be hidden. It should not be revealed, especially if your aspiration is so high. So they are doing this, and actually what will happen now, I'm, as you see, very hesitant to proceed with the Lila, so I'm kind of, going back to a more innocent part of the whole event, of the whole pastime. But what is very important for us to understand the meaning of this Lila. Of course, there are so many layers of the meaning, but Krishna is helping to bring their level of attachment to the higher stage. He is, it's like this, the raga is unripe yet. And we know when you take the fruit which is not ripe yet, then sometimes it takes some endeavor to make it ripe, and these people who are taking these green bananas in Ecuador. They're putting them in the special boxes with, carbon dioxide to facilitate the ripening process. So exactly this thing is happening here. Krishna, who knows their desires and who knows their state of affairs, who knows their condition of their heart, he wants them to bring up, to come up to the higher stage of attachment. So actually this is what Srila Rupa Goswami explains in Ujjvala Nilamani when he says that that Purvaraga, as I said, the feeling which is described in this pastime is Purvaraga, and Purvaraga has 10 stages. The initial love, which is completely unfulfilled and completely, which doesn't have any even hope for meeting with the beloved, the love on a great distance, goes from stage to stage. It's not ecstatic feeling, it's a feeling, as Prabhupada said, that Krishna is not static, he is ecstatic. So the feelings of the gopis are also not static, and this Purvaraga is not static. And Srila Rupa Goswami says that there are 10 stages of increasing this emotion. The first stage is delight of seeing, Nayana Pritihi. You see the object of your love and you're just amazed how beautiful he is. And then the next stage, the second stage, is Chinta Sangha. You start thinking, when shall I meet with him or with her? When this happen, when we meet together? And then the third stage is determination of making decision to do something about it. So initially you just like how he looks like or she looks like, and then you start thinking, how shall we meet? And then you start making plan, this is what shall we do? And then the next stage, natural stage of development, you lose your sleep because you just cannot do this. In Sanskrit, in case you're interested, it's called Nidra Cheda, when your sleep is completely shattered to pieces. You cannot just sleep. So then the fifth stage, waning away or losing weight. It's good for those who are overweight, but for those who are skinny, may not be so good. So that's exactly what the mothers of these girls started noticing, that they're getting more and more skinny and dry. And then the sixth stage is detachment from other pleasures. You cannot just relate to anything else. You just completely, fixed in your desire. And then the stage number 7 is the most important. Loss of shame. That's exactly what Krishna wants to achieve by this pastime. He wants them to ripen, that their raga would be ripened as soon as possible, and come to this 7th stage when they completely losing their shame, which is very natural and which is so difficult to lose. Especially for somebody who is from a cultured background. So, and then of course the 8th stage is madness, but we will not speak about this. We will not go into this extent. this is what Krishna is going to achieve, and this is what is explained. Commentators of this verse, they are following Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur of this 8th verse. They are following Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, who explains certain usage of the words of the names of Krishna or nomenclature which Shukadev Goswami is using in this verse. He says, Bhagavan, first of all, he is God. Please don't forget about this. He is God, but he is a very special, of course he is Krishna, and it means that he is all attractive, and it means that he is just a natural object of love. For those whose hearts are clean, for them there is nobody else who is attractive or as attractive as him. But he is also Yogeshwara Ishvaraha, Yoga Ishvara Ishvaraha. He is the Ishvara of those who are Yogeshwara. He is not Yogeshwara, he is Ishvara of Yogeshwaras, or the best mystics. Those people who are completely mystical and who can know this mystical science, he is the Ishvara of them. And basically, as Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains, this is the prelude for the whole pastime, because in this pastime Krishna will do something which is completely unrealistic and impossible. He will force these young and very chaste and very pure girls to come out of the water completely naked. This is his mystical feat. This is his amazing miracle which he is going to perform. He is going, he is, as the commentators explained, that not only this, he first of all, of course, he will fulfill their desires which are impossible. He will reciprocate with each and every one of them in a completely appropriate way, and he will also he will force them to more or less lose their shame, and he will also after that, after exchanging the love, he will just say, you go your way and I will go my way. The time will come when we meet together. This is not the time yet. So this is all the praise of Lord Krishna. He doesn't have any stupid ideas or any bodily conceptions. He just wants the exchange of love, and while achieving this purpose of his, he is completely satisfied. So what will happen? This happened on the last day of their vrat. For 30 days, for 29 days, they were worshipping goddess Katyayani. And as I said, every day their desire would become stronger and stronger and stronger, and their worship to the deities would become more and more elaborate, and they would become more and more into the whole process. And as you know, if you gave a certain vrata, and vrata, as I said, implies some austerity. You have to do something which is difficult. By the end of the vrata, you become completely happy because of two reasons. The first reason is that you're sure that you kind of came closer to the goal which you wanted to achieve, and the second reason is that finally it is finished, because you feel relief. Because it's difficult. Vrata means you're doing something difficult. Vrata means you're doing something which you normally wouldn't do. And it helps you to concentrate your desire in one point. You become completely one-pointed. But then when it's finished, you become completely, you're kind of relaxed, you know. For 1 month, you were totally tense and trying to do this. And finally you say, okay, we made it. We made it. Like everyone knows who would go for 1 month of marathon, you know. The last day of marathon is the most happy day. Finally it's over. You know. So, exactly the same feeling now is in the hearts of the gopis. Not only because of this, but also because in the night before, when they were performing their vratas, in the night before, goddess Katyayani came to each and every gopi in a dream. And the goddess said, oh, I am very pleased to you. Very soon your desire will be fulfilled. So they woke up in the morning of this last day of their vrata. They know this is the last day. They will just do the final worship of Katyayani. They already know, and that there are all auspicious signs. The left part of their bodies is, you know, tweaking like anything. The eye, the thigh, everything. They have special tremor in the left side, which is auspicious for women and very inauspicious for men. So, and they know something wonderful will happen today. You know, they have this great anticipation. So they hardly could sleep. In the morning they are just running, knocking each other door, calling each other, oh, fortunate girl, let's go there, let's go. So they call each other Dhanya, which means, oh, very, very fortunate. And they're running there to the bank of Yamuna, and they completely take off their clothes and they jump into the water of Yamuna. While they're splashing and taking baths, they're loudly singing. Gayantaha. It is explained here by Sukadeva Goswami that they were playing in the water, completely oblivious that the water is very cold. I mean, it's the last day of Margashira, which is one of the most, probably the coldest, months of the year. In Vrindavan, it's really cold. It's cold. And they're splashing in the water, completely oblivious that the water is cold. And Srila Jiva Goswami explains at this point, it basically means that they completely forget about everything else. They're totally not in a bodily platform. They were never in a bodily platform, but it means that they're free from duality. When our consciousness, even though it's internal, still, there is some element of external part of our consciousness, and it means that body is one, mind is something else, and there is some divisions and some duality is there. So in this last day, they are in complete samadhi. They don't understand anything. They're just splashing the water, and they know now we will worship this Katyayani, and our desires will be fulfilled. So at this very moment, Krishna is taking these friends of his and going to the bank of Yamuna, because he knows tat abhipretya, knowing their intentions, knowing what they want. Abhipretya, abhipraya means the intention. Because he's Bhagavan, he's the super soul, and he's Yogeshwara or Yogeshwareshwara. So he goes there, but what is the most amazing thing is that he takes with him his friends. And moreover, technically speaking, the word Vayasya, which is used here, Vayasyaihi, together with the friends, Vayasya means the friends of the same age. So that's very strange, because he's going to perform some Shringar Lila, some Madhurya Lila, and if these friends were of the same age, it would completely destroy the rasa. It would be completely rasabas. It should not be there. It's not supposed to be there. It's completely against the rules of rasa. So therefore, different acharyas are trying to explain this in different ways. What does it really mean? Srinath Chakravarti says, actually Vayasya doesn't mean friends. Vayasya means he takes with him his good qualities. That's his attempt to reconcile this. He is going with his mystic powers and with everything else, and he goes there. But who was it? I believe Sanatana Goswami. He gives a better explanation. He quotes the verse from Gautamya Tantra. And in Gautamya Tantra, it is said that Krishna has, as every one of us, has 4 elements of his antahkarana: Chitta, Buddhi, Manas, Ahankar, and Chitta. This is 4 elements of or 4 functions of our consciousness. And in Gautamya Tantra it is said that these 4 elements of Krishna's consciousness take external form of his 4 friends. So these 4 friends, they are Dhamma, Sudama, Vasudama, and Kinkini. Kinkini and Vasudama. Dhamma is his intelligence, Sudama is his mind, and Kinkini is his ego, and Vasudama is his chitta. So basically what they want to say is that these friends of Krishna, they are not different from him. And to make sure that there is no rasabas in this lila, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and others say they may be 4 years old. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says 2 years old, not more than this. to really make sure that there is no rasabas. This is totally young friends, and they don't have any idea of what's going on. They just love Krishna. So they're going along with Krishna to this path of Yamuna, and Krishna is, kind of running more or less because he wants to be on time, and these boys, they are kind of behind, and they're always asking Krishna, where are we going? Where are we going? Where are we going? Krishna is just determined. He doesn't do any prajalpa with them. He just goes straight there and just says that, you will know. So the gopis are splashing in the water, they're playing in the water, completely oblivious of everything else. Krishna comes closer to Yamuna, he sees this beautiful scene, and he says to his friends, because these friends were always they like little children, they were always talking something, they were very talkative. Krishna looks at them very sternly, you know. And then, actually this is also what Vishwanath Chakravarti says what he did, why he's called Yogeshwara, Ishvara of all Yogeshwaras, because he managed to steal the clothes of all the gopis, even though they were right there, and it was just the clothes was visible. Krishna somehow or other, he was a trained thief. He was quite good at it, you know. He had a lot of experience. So he goes there, and by his mystic power, he steals all these clothes without being noticed. And with all these clothes, he climbs over the Kadamba tree, which is, especially after rainy season, Kadamba trees are very lush and green. So he's not noticed that his friends are climbing to another tree, which is growing nearby. And when everything is done, at this point, his friends cannot really contain themselves any longer, and they start laughing and laughing and laughing. And Krishna, when he imagines what will happen now, he also starts laughing. Because, you know, all these girls, completely, they think it's a very secluded place, nobody is there, and all of a sudden they hear this, you know, loud laugh, and especially Krishna's voice is very deep. So it's, you know, if this young boy's laugh can be taken as women, then Krishna's laugh can never be taken as women's laugh. So Krishna is like, something like that. When gopi hear this, they become completely, what happened? And they don't know the source of this love, because Krishna is hidden there on the branches of this tree, and they're standing there. And who is there? What male is here? You know who is there? He will see us. So immediately after that, when this happened, they just, before that they were splashing and they were all quite, you know, exposed, so to speak. But immediately they go down, and only their faces are sticking out of the water. So all of a sudden you see this scene, there is Yamuna river, and so many faces are sticking out of the water, and all the faces, they are completely, you know, afraid, and at the same time angry, and at the same time there is some happiness. And then Krishna comes out in a very, you know, majestic way. He comes out and says, "Oh, what are you doing here?" And they, of course, they recognize his voice. They knew it's Krishna. So, as Srila Jiva Goswami explains, that their faces and the heads of the gopis were like golden lotuses. The whole Yamuna was covered by these golden, beautiful lotuses, and eyes of Krishna became like bumblebees who are just running to these lotuses and buzzing around these lotuses, and Krishna is looking at them. Yeah. And each of them is so beautiful, so unbelievably beautiful with big eyes, but they cannot look at Krishna, they look down. And Krishna is explaining that this, not Krishna, sorry, Jiva Goswami is explaining that this is what Krishna is enjoying at this moment. He is enjoying by this unbelievable, unforgettable mixture of emotions. They are ashamed, they are angry, they are frustrated, they are anticipating the joy, they are simultaneously angry and happy. You know, if you want to be gopi, you have to learn how to experience this mixture of different emotions, different emotional nuances at the same time. It's called Kila Kinchita Bhav. Srila Rupa Goswami explains this in Ujjvala Nilamani. When Kila Kinchita, Kila means, Kinchita means something little from many things. So it's kind of mixture. It's a emotional kichri. That's what it is, Kila Kinchita. So, when so many different emotions, contradictory, totally, completely contradictory emotions are together, and they are expressed in the faces of Gopi who couldn't look at Krishna because they're so ashamed, and at the same time they deep down inside their heart they know Krishna is reciprocating with us. He is coming forward, and actually they at this moment they think, it's not only we who are attached to Krishna, Krishna is also attached to us. So this is what is happening in this particular scene. And then when this happened, Krishna first of course, first they and these friends of Krishna, they are completely in bliss. They see this, they don't understand anything, but they just laughing, like only small children can laugh. So they're laughing and laughing and laughing. And these gopis, because they're too ashamed to speak directly with Krishna at this moment of time, so they started chastising these little boys. They're saying, you're laughing now. We will see what you will do when we will tell what you're doing in your free time to your parents. When this event will be known to your parents, we will see how you will laugh. And these boys, as Srila Jiva Goswami says, the boys were very nicely trained by Krishna. So therefore, when they heard this chastisement from the gopis, they say, our dear girls, we just see we're small boys, and we don't know what is good, what is bad. We just came here to learn from you. And already by your behavior we learned so much what is good, what is bad. So thank you very much for your lessons. And gopis became a little embarrassed because they know that they were doing something which was not so appropriate. They were retorting back to these boys. They were saying to these boys that, let me see, I just want to get it right. And they wanted to point out the faults of what they were doing. And they said, of course, you came here to learn from us, but we know who is your real teacher. And you are definitely good disciples of your teacher. And probably because you learned from him so nicely the art of stealing, when you will go back to the village, you will probably practice this art, right? So this is how they answering them. And the little boys, they completely composed. They are not going to lose too easily. And they say, actually, and they say, you are, as real thieves, you're hiding somewhere in a tree, as should have been expected. The thief, he steals something and then he's going into hiding. And the boys, they're answering, actually, we are not stealing anything. We're just hiding because when we came to Yamuna, we saw so many crocodiles here. And because there are so many crocodiles here, we decided, we were very afraid, and therefore we climbed over on the tree, and we really hope that crocodiles don't climb the same trees. So that's going on. And then Krishna understands that he has to come to help his friends, and then he has to really bring gopis to another level of interaction. And he starts speaking from the branch openly. He said, there is very strange thing. I was herding cows nearby, and then I saw this kadamba tree, and it's a very strange kadamba tree because I saw that there are so many colorful fruits and flowers in this kadamba tree, but when I came closer, I wanted to discover what's happening, and then when I came closer to this kadamba tree, I saw that there are so many saris which are hanging from this kadamba tree. Do you know by any chance how did these saris end up on this kadamba tree? And gopis, they became really angry. At this point, they became angry, and they look at Krishna with their eyes burning with anger, and they say, you think we are fools? Saris cannot climb over kadamba trees. You stole our saris. You put these saris there. And he said, no. Actually, I did see that so many clothes are, laying on the bank, and I decided to guard this clothes because who knows, maybe some thieves will come. So I put this clothes in a very safe place. You should be very grateful to me. And these gopis say, it's our clothes. And nobody asked you to guard this clothes. He said, how do you prove that this is your clothes? Maybe you are thieves. Maybe somebody else left this clothes here. So just in case, and because I know you are very unreliable girls, so I'm just guarding this safely. And the girls say, whose else clothes it could be? It's a very secluded place. Nobody else is here, only we are here. He said, maybe now only you are here, but so many other women can come here. It's not a logical argument, so I don't accept this argument. And then it's going on, this Vad-vilas is going on there. They're playing the words, and Krishna is refuting all their arguments. And ultimately they say, actually, I know whose clothes it is. I know the truth. The truth is that, and they say, actually, you're just completely useless girls. You're just playing here. You're completely frivolous girls. What are you doing here? I don't know. And they said, we're not playing here. We're worshipping Katyayani. We're here with a religious purpose. We're very religious, chaste girls, and we will not touch other clothes because we don't steal anything. Krishna says, oh, you're worshipping Katyayani. And they say, we worship Katyayani on this kadamba tree. Krishna says, oh, really, you're worshipping Durga Devi on this kadamba tree. Actually, now I understood whose clothes it is. That's the clothes of demigoddesses who come here to worship Katyayani. This is a very sacred tree. Yes, you're right. And they put this cloth here. Now I know. They said, demigoddesses, why they're doing this? We are here. Krishna says, no. We'll wait till the night and see if demigoddesses come here, because they come at night. And then, if they don't come, then I will give you clothes back. So he's playing with them, and they're playing with him. And the more he speaks, the more their hearts melts, because they understand Krishna loves us. Krishna is coming here, and they're still insisting. They're still saying, you have to give us this clothes back. This is our clothes. Krishna says, if it's your clothes, it's no problem. You just come one by one, and I will figure out. And of course, you will have to pay me little money for guarding this clothes nicely. In Vrindavan, in the temple, before the in front of the temple, there is somebody who is sitting there. And if you leave the shoes, he is there with the stick. And when you leave the temple, you have to give him something. So Krishna says, I guarded this clothes, so you will have to pay me some remuneration for this. And and then Krishna says, actually, Krishna starts speaking to the boys. Actually, you know what, my dear boys? I really understood what's going on. These girls who don't want to come out of water, they're not naked. I can see through the water. They're all thieves. This is a very important element of this story, which is widely used nowadays. If you are a thief, the best way to defend yourself is to accuse somebody else being a thief. So this is what propaganda is doing. Somebody is doing something, the other side is accusing them, and the other side says, no, you're doing this, not you're doing this. So Krishna is using exactly the same argument. He said, he's speaking to these boys, and he says, these girls, they're accusing me as being a thief. But actually, I see it very clearly, because when I see in the water of Yamuna, I see that there is something golden there, down there. And I know, because I'm playing here and there in Vraj, and every now and then being absorbed or immersed in the play, I leave my pitambar. And these gopis, they're thieves. They steal my pitambar, and now they're all dressed in pitambars. And if you want to prove that you're not dressed in pitambars, please come out and we'll see if you're dressed or not. And then again, Krishna says to his friends, or otherwise, you, my dear friends, go there and drag them out and see if they are in my pitambar or not, whether they are thieves or not. And the boys, they are very obedient to Krishna. They're his obedient servants, and they're climbing out from the tree, and they're standing on the bank of the river, little hesitant to do anything else, and they're just meditating how they will go into the water and deal with these dangerous crocodiles which are there. So he's going there. They're standing there, and the gopis, they become really angry at this moment of time, and they started saying, you come here, you come here, you come here, and you bring your master. For the whole month we were worshipping Katyayani, and we became so powerful. We will show you who is more powerful here. And the boys became really afraid, because they really think that by their mystical power they will drag them into water and do something, drown them into water. And these little boys, they very quickly climb on Krishna's tree and say, you are master, so we take shelter of your lotus feet. Please give us the shade of your lotus feet. So this is what is going on there, and Krishna is joking, and gopis are joking, but ultimately Krishna is very insistent. He is not going to go back. He is not, and they realize it. They're determined, and Krishna is determined. And Krishna says, why are you afraid? Just come out. And Krishna gives a very nice argument, actually. Krishna says, in Shastras, it is said that the face is anyway the most beautiful part of the body. And I see your beautiful faces. So what difference it makes if you show me your whole body, what's the problem? I just want to see the rest of your body, But anyway, the best part I already seen, so just come out. Come closer, and we will see. And he said, I swear, I am a very truthful person, and I give you my word of the son of the king. Then if you come out, very easily I'll give you the clothes. Please come out, take the clothes. And Gopi says, how do we know that you are truthful? You're not really famous for being so truthful. He said, if you don't believe me, you ask these boys. They will confirm that I never speak any lie. As far as I'm concerned, I never remember myself even once speaking a lie. Doesn't sound familiar? When we think about ourselves, as far as I'm concerned, I never was wrong in my life. So, Krishna says the same thing. As far as I'm concerned, I never spoke any lie in my life. And anyway, he says, if you don't believe me, you just send one girl who is less important among all of you, and let's see how I deal with her. And if I deal with her fairly, then every one of you, what difference does it make? You just try, make an experiment. And and then at this point of time, the gopis started looking at each other, and they were saying, looking at each other and saying, oh, fortunate girl, Krishna wants you to come out. Krishna is fulfilling your desire. Why don't you go? And of course the girl says, no, he wants you to come out. So they're kind of gently pushing each other. You come out. No, you come out. And then Krishna says, no, you just come out. And ultimately they become very humble. In the beginning they were answering Krishna, they were fighting with him, they were trying to argue, they were trying to use any other means, but ultimately they understood there's no point to fight with Krishna. He is always right. The only way to conquer him is humility. So they started saying, Krishna, we are anyway your dasis. We are your servants. Why do you do this to us? Please relieve us. We are ready to fulfill any of your desire, but please give us the clothes, and then we will talk. And Krishna says immediately, oh, you are my dasis. let's see if you are really dasis. Dasis means that you have to fulfill any desire of mine. And if you don't fulfill, you are liars, and then, I punish you. And then the gopis, they become completely frustrated. And then Krishna, at this point of time, he's sitting there on the branch, and he starts yawning. I'm bored sitting here, but I don't mind, sitting on the branch of this tree unless you go out. And they say, and they get some glimpse of hope at this moment of time. They say, Krishna, we see that your cows are lost somewhere. You're herding the cows there in the cave. You should rush there to the cows. And Krishna says, no. My cows, they know what they're doing. I don't mind sitting here. Of course, I'm a little bored, but I have so much clothes here, so I make a hammock here, and I will just sit a little bit in the air. And this, and instead, you should go back. You should be in a hurry, because your parents probably waiting for you to do some household duties. And they said, no. Our parents said to us that we should perform our vrata for 30 days. We'll be there. Okay. Krishna says, you're detached from your home. I'm also detached from my home. If you are not attached to your houses, I'm not attached to my house. I will sit on the tree, you will sit there. And at the same time, it's cold. It's really cold. And they're shivering, and they don't know whether they're shivering from ecstasy or they're shivering from the cold. What is going on? And ultimately, they realize that there is no way, and Krishna is doing all kinds of tricks on them, and they realize that they should surrender. And that's another element of the story which is very important, because we come to Krishna, but at the same time every one of us has some reservations. We are somewhat hesitant. There is something we say, like Arjuna says, I am surrendered soul. I am the soul surrendered unto you. Shishyasteham shadimam tvam prapannam. I am prapanna. I am completely surrendered unto you. But I am not going to fight. So that's exactly our condition. We're surrendered. No problem. But there is some hidden but, which sometimes we ourselves are not even aware of. What we don't want to surrender. We are ready to surrender something, which we don't need anyway. Like some people, they surrender the prospect of marriage life, but because they don't want it anyway. So usually we surrender to Krishna, or we give to Krishna something which we don't really need. But always there is something hidden deep inside our heart which we don't want to surrender, which we are not ready to surrender. So, and Krishna knows this. And we argue with Krishna. Krishna, why do you need this? I already surrendered so much. I am already Devi Dasi or Das. I already your servant. I did so much for you. Why don't you accept me with little something in my heart which I am not giving to you? And Krishna is saying, no, let's see whether you will be able to surrender completely. So that's the dynamic of our spiritual life. This is what Krishna is illustrating by this pastime. Whether we're able to stand in front of Krishna completely naked, surrendering the last, the most precious possessions which we have. And that's why Krishna is called Yogeshwara Ishvara, because he can do it. And only he can do it. He can bring us to this point that we'll say, okay, Krishna, you take this, no problem. I'm yours. So ultimately, at one point, they started whispering with each other, making a plan. And they were doing who will go first, and they had a brilliant idea. Actually, I forget to say, very important point of this pastime is that in this last day, all these young gopis, they also invited all the older gopis who were already engaged, who were married, and Radharani was there. All the elder gopis who are Nitya Siddhas, they also came at this day. And that's another important element of the whole story, is that you cannot really fulfill your desires or your aspirations unless you take the help of some Nitya Siddha associate of the Lord. You have to invite him, you have to make him a part of your vow and ask him for help. So all these different gopis of different ages, they are there, and ultimately they designed a very beautiful plan. That in front they put the youngest gopi, who is the most innocent. And then behind her there will be two others who are kind of hiding behind her back. And at the same time they lose their hairs, and their hairs are their long hairs, and they're covering their bodies. And then behind these two there are three who are hiding behind their backs, and behind this, so there is a special formation there, like in army. They're going this in the perfect order, trying to still hide themselves behind the backs of everyone. And Krishna is looking at them, and he's really enjoying the scene and enjoying their emotions, their shyness and this. And then he says, actually, what you're doing is not right, because you want to fulfill your vrata. And if you want to fulfill your vrata, you have to do everything pakka. And if you want to do everything pakka, you have to tie your hairs, because it's completely uncultured. When the ladies have loose hairs, it's so, you quickly tie all your hairs. And they're looking at him, and at this point they're completely broken. They're ready to do everything which he says. If you want this, and they started tying their long hairs. And then Krishna says, what is this business of hiding behind the back? You just make a straight line and come one by one. And they're doing everything which he says. And then he says, but at the same time they're having a special mudra like this. And then Krishna says, no, this, we're worshipping, and worship implies proper mudras. Your mudras should be like this. You should make pranam to me. So he's doing this, and ultimately he's completely satisfied with them. He sees how beautiful they are, and how surrendered they are, and how completely pure they are. He sees their purity, and he enjoys their purity. And they're becoming even more humble than before. He gives them clothes, and they started taking on the clothes. And Krishna says, okay, my dear girls, you wanted something, I fulfilled your desire. Actually, according to the Vedic traditions, the girl can become naked only in front of her husband. So you wanted me to become your husband? Okay, I fulfilled your desires. Your vrata can be considered successful, but it's not time yet. So Krishna gives them benediction, and that sometime in the future there will be nights when we will meet together. And by giving them this promise, he lives. And actually, even before that, before when the gopis started coming out, the friends of Krishna, they said, okay, let's go somewhere else. And they leave the place. And Krishna gives this promise, and it is said in Srimad Bhagavatam, Sukadeva Goswami explains that after hearing this promise, gopis, they were completely mad before. They were completely in love with Krishna before, but after that, they lost their consciousness. They were completely absorbed in thinking about Krishna. They could only see him in everywhere. So he helped them to bring their love for him on another level. And he left, and they went to Braj, thinking, how fortunate they were, and what happened with them on this last day of their vrata. Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. So, I guess there is no question. It's we know what to do now. There is a process, and Krishna reciprocates with us. And actually, I will read one more verse, beautiful verse from this, which is perhaps the most important verse. Ityachyutena bihitam vrajabala matva vivastra palavanam vratachyutim tatpurti kamas tadashesha karmanam sakshat kritam nimur avadya mrig yataha. So Shukadeva Goswami explains by the end of this Lila, thus the young girls of Vrindavana, considering what Lord Achyuta had told them, accepted that they had suffered a fall. That they had suffered a fall down from their vow by bathing naked in the river, but they still desired successfully. This is just 1 second. No, this is what I wanted to read. The other one, 22nd verse. Dridham pralabdhas trapayacha hapitah prastobhitah kridama vachcha karitaha vastrani chaiva pahritany adhapyamu ta nabhyasuyan preya sangha nivritaha. Translation: although the gopis had been thoroughly cheated, deprived of their modesty, ridiculed, and made to act just like toy dolls, and although their clothing had been stolen, they did not feel at all inimical towards Sri Krishna. Rather, they were simply joyful to have this opportunity to associate with their beloved. So that's the essence of this Lila. Aslisyava padaratam pinashtu mama darshanam marmahatam karotu va yatha tathava vidatatim lampatona prananatas tusayeva naparaha. This is what Krishna is doing. They were cheated. They were deprived of their modesty. They were made like to act like dolls. Their clothes was stolen, but still they were in love with Krishna. So that's real love. Everything else is just imitation. Okay, thank you very much, Hare Krishna.
Guru Maharaj, what does it mean to stand naked in front of God in a practical way? Because it's not like Krishna doesn't know my imperfections or anarthas or whatever. Actually, I'm the one who don't know them. So what does it mean?
Oh, Krishna will help you to know it. Krishna, first of all, will help you to understand your limitations or your hesitance and your problems, and then he will help you to get rid of this. So, but you will have to do it. He will help you to do it, but you will have to do it. If you don't want to do it, he will not do it for yourself. So first he will explain to you or reveal to you or show to you where is your blind spot, and then he will help you to get rid of it. And you will argue like anything, not this, please.
So is it bona fide to ask Krishna, help me to surrender unto you?
Don't do it. The time will come. Don't worry about this. Don't be in a hurry.
Thank you very much, Marge. I had two questions, if I may. One is relating to the beginning of your description. And you described how in our tradition or in our culture of devotional service, there is this aspect of keeping our aspirations secretive. And I find it very interesting because sometimes in our society of devotees, we do aspire, and that is reflected in the way we do things or in our interactions with devotees. So why is being secretive so important?
Because when you show it off, there is a great possibility of some pride to sneak in, and the pride will poison your aspirations. We should be very secretive because that's the humility. And also Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives a very beautiful metaphor or comparison to understand this. He says, love is like a little ghee lamp. And if the ghee lamp is hidden, if it's in a room, then it will burn very steadily. But as soon as you take this ghee lamp out of the room and place it on the threshold or on the doorsteps, then the wind starts blowing, and ultimately it will extinguish the ghee lamp. So he says, love is exactly like this. As soon as you bring it out, it will be extinguished by the winds which are blowing there. So you should hide it in a protected place within yourself. And therefore it's not a proper etiquette even to so much speak about these pastimes. There is an important reason about this. So therefore our conservative attitude which we have is actually bona fide. But every now and then, once every 17 years we can do it. Last time I was here 17 years back.
Thank you very much.
You have to pull it up.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much for your lecture. Can I ask in Russian?
Yeah, sure.
Вы сказали, что Кришна исполнил желание Гопи посредством всей этой лилы. И мой вопрос в том, что Гопи хотели Кришну в мужья как мужья, но он по-другому исполнил это желание. И получается, что когда он ушел, и вы сказали, что они стали полностью поглощены в Кришну и думали о нем очень сильно. И получается, что он исполнил их желание посредством того, что они внутренне стали очень привязаны к нему.
You said in the lecture that Krishna fulfilled all the desires of the gopis, but as far as I remember, they desired to make him their husbands. So how shall we understand that he fulfilled their desires? And you said also that when he left them, they started thinking about him even more intensely. So was this the way of how he fulfilled their desires? It's a big subject matter. He did fulfill their desires because they desired first and foremost reciprocation. Formalities of the matter are not so important. What is important is reciprocation. And it's Purvaraga. Purvaraga means separation before the meeting. So they didn't have chance to speak with Krishna in a secluded place. For them, the highest aspiration for those who are experiencing Purvaraga is to meet with Krishna in a secluded place. And that's what he fulfilled. And yes, there are different kinds of marriages. There is Brahma marriage when it is arranged marriage by your parents, and there is some Rakshasa marriage, and there is some Gandharva marriage. So this was kind of Gandharva marriage when they are mutually agree with each other. So Krishna fulfilled their desires. And in any case, if you don't believe that he fulfilled their desires, you ask them whether he fulfilled them or not. What do you think they will say to you? They will definitely say yes. Their brat was totally successful.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. I was reading recently this chapter in Srimad Bhagavatam, and in one purport to one verse it is stated that there were three prominent emotions in Gopi's heart during this Lila. One was they were very jubilant, very happy because Krishna accepted them. Second, they felt some shyness, some embarrassment. And third one, they were ready and eager to fulfill all Krishna's desire. And I was thinking that it is quite a romantic mix of emotions which was in their heart. And now I was listening to all these jokes which you mentioned between Krishna and Gopi, and I'm wondering if these jokes, they were telling them to each other in a romantic way or in friendly way, because it looked like they were talking to each other like children who is joking, or there was still some romantic way, because the same joke, the same word can be spoken in different mood, and maybe you can a little bit clarify.
I'm not a big expert in romantic affairs. just saying what Acharya said.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you very much for this lecture. I have a question according to the previous lecture. You told at the end that all our material experience is useless in spiritual life and vice versa. All our spiritual experience is useless in material world. How to find a proper balance in this situation? Because we have to somehow fulfill our desires and live somehow here.
We
Thank you.
see, in the beginning, we are playing a role of a devotee, whereas our heart is more or less still the heart of a materialist. But at the end, we should play the role of a materialist, but our heart should be the heart of a devotee. So externally we're playing a role, and we should try to play this role as nicely as possible. That's the instruction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Rupa and Sanatana Goswami. You hide your real heart content from others by perfectly fulfilling your duties, but you at the same time you understand that this is the role and your inner aspirations are different. So that's the balance. You know, we're playing a role, but our real life is hidden internally. Okay, I guess that's it. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Premanande.
Bhakti Vijnana Goswami Maharaj ki jai.